Carbide burrs serve as precision instruments for engraving and detailing, enabling artists, jewelers, and fabricators to etch intricate designs into surfaces with controlled depth and finesse, far surpassing the limitations of traditional tools like needles or files by leveraging the burr's sharp, tungsten carbide flutes for clean, vibration-free lines. These rotary attachments, spun at moderate speeds between 10,000 and 20,000 RPM in handheld die grinders or Dremel-style tools, allow for everything from fine script on metal plaques to textured patterns on composite panels, where their durability ensures consistent performance without rapid dulling. The key to mastering engraving lies in a methodical process that prioritizes planning, tool selection, and progressive techniques, transforming a blank surface into a detailed masterpiece while minimizing risks like overcutting or material distortion. For beginners and experts alike, understanding burr shapes, such as the pointed cone for ultrafine lines or the ball for subtle shading, along with material-specific adjustments, unlocks the full potential of this craft, where each step builds upon the last to achieve professional-grade results. The engraving process begins with preparation and outlining, a foundational step that sets the blueprint for the design and prevents errors that could ruin the workpiece. Start by securing the material firmly in a vise or rotary indexer to eliminate movement. Then transfer your design using a template, stencil, or freehand sketching with a fine-tip marker or scribe, ensuring lines are bold enough to follow but light to avoid permanent marks on sensitive surfaces. For metals like brass or stainless steel, which conduct heat efficiently, lightly etch the outline at low speed, around 12,000 RPM, with a pointed cone-shaped burr. Its tapered, needle-like tip, often 1/16 inch in diameter, creates hair-thin grooves, 0.005 to 0.010 inches wide, ideal for delineating borders or text without removing excess material, allowing the carbide's single-cut flutes to shear cleanly along the path. Verbally guiding the motion. Hold the tool at a 45-degree angle to the surface, advancing steadily at 0.5 inches per second, while orbiting the burr tip in a gentle spiral to follow curves, pausing every few inches to clear metal shavings with compressed air and inspect depth under magnification. This outlining phase establishes the design's skeleton, typically taking 10 to 20% of total time. And for composites like carbon fiber or acrylic, reduce speed to 8,000 RPM to avoid delamination, as the burr's point traces the line with minimal pressure to prevent cracking the layered resins. Once the outline is set, layering cuts for depth introduces dimensionality, a technique that builds volume through successive passes, gradually increasing immersion to create shadows, reliefs, or bas relief effects without compromising structural integrity. Begin with shallow scoring passes, 0.01 to 0.02 inches deep, using the same pointed cone burr to reinforce the outline, then switch to a slightly larger oval or ball-shaped burr for filling interior areas, where the rounded form allows for broader, feathered strokes that blend edges seamlessly. For depth layering, work in increments. First pass at full outline depth, second at half immersion for midtones, and third at near full flute engagement for highlights or recesses, always withdrawing the tool orthogonally, perpendicular to the surface, to release chips and cool the interface. On metals, this method exploits the material's malleability. Steel, for instance, responds well to double-cut burrs in the ball shape, which cross-shears for smoother gradients, enabling a 0.05-inch deep engraving on a silver medallion where layered cuts evoke a three-dimensional floral motif. The process demands steady hand control, rotating the wrist in microcircles to vary pressure and avoid flat spots. Material considerations are crucial here. Metals like aluminum require lubricant wax to prevent gumming in the flutes during layering, while composites demand even lighter touches to avert heat buildup that could warp fibers, often necessitating coolant mists between passes to maintain below 150 degrees Fahrenheit. Control techniques form the artistry of engraving, where grip, speed, and path precision dictate the final texture and accuracy, often visualized through animated sketches that demonstrate fluid execution. Imagine an animated sketch of the outlining phase, a close-up view of a pointed cone burr hovering over a metallic surface, its tip glowing as it descends in a slow-motion arc, tracing a scripted letter A with a trailing line of sparkling chips ejecting from the flutes like a comet's tail, the animation looping to show wrist rotation maintaining a consistent 1 mm depth, while the hand stabilizes via a thumb-forefinger pinch for fine control. For layering, another sketch animates a ball burr layering depth on a composite panel. The tool orbits in expanding concentric circles, starting shallow, faint blue glow for light passes, and deepening to vibrant red for recesses, with material fibers subtly flexing but not fracturing under controlled pressure, interrupted by lift-off pauses where cooling air bursts clear debris, illustrating how to angle the burr 30 degrees for curved motifs to prevent undercutting. These conceptual animations highlight speed modulation, slow for detail, 10,000 RPM, to allow visual feedback, faster for shading, 15,000 RPM, to blend layers, ensuring even coverage without chatter marks. Burr shape selection tailors the technique to the design's intricacy and material demands, with each form offering unique advantages for engraving's nuanced requirements. The pointed cone burr reigns for fine lines, its acute apex, 15 to 30 degree taper, piercing with surgical precision on hard metals like titanium, where it etches micron-level details for serial numbers or microcircuits without widening the groove. In composites, pair it with diamond-cut flutes to abrade resins cleanly, avoiding the splintering that coarser shapes cause. For broader detailing, transition to a tree-shaped burr with a rounded end. Ideal for accessing tight crevices in layered cuts, its conical base widens the path gradually. Perfect for floral petals on wooden inlays or circuit traces on fiberglass boards, where the shape's versatility allows depth variation in a single tool. Flame-shaped burrs add flair for organic contours, their elongated taper blending outlines into shaded depths on softer metals like copper, facilitating free-form engraving of landscapes. Always match the shape to material hardness. Steels favor robust single cuts for durability, while composites benefit from finer double cuts to minimize dust and heat. Animated sketches for shape usage might depict a split screen. On one side, the pointed cone animating a straight line etch with pinpoint sparks on steel, the path unwavering. On the other, a ball burr rolling in a shaded sphere on acrylic, with layered depth building like stacking translucent waves, emphasizing how shape dictates control for flawless integration. Material considerations elevate the entire process, as metals and composites react differently to the burr's action, influencing speed, pressure, and post-engraving care to preserve longevity and aesthetics. Metals, with their high thermal conductivity, dissipate heat well but can work harden under excessive friction, so maintain intermittent pauses during layering to prevent edge bluing on stainless steel, and follow up with polishing compounds for a mirror finish that highlights the engraving's contrast. Composites, prone to layer separation or resin melting, require slower RPMs and shallower initial cuts to respect the anisotropic structure. Carbon fiber, for example, engraves beautifully with cone burrs for circuit-like patterns, but demands masking tape to protect surrounding areas from stray fibers. An animated sketch for material adaptation could show a dual view. For metals, a heat map pulsing orange, then cooling blue during controlled layering, with the burr path steady. For composites, fiber strands flexing elastically under light pressure, the animation slowing to reveal micro cracks avoided by angled entry, underscoring the need for test engravings on scraps to calibrate technique. By verbalizing these steps, from outlining's precision to layering's depth building, and leveraging burr shapes like the pointed cone for lines, engravers achieve intricate, durable details that withstand wear, turning carbide burrs into extensions of creative intent across metals and composites alike.